Are you afraid of the dark? That's a good question. It's approximately 10:20 Mountain Time. I'm in the ABQ. It is the winter solstice. And you know what that means? It's officially Capricorn season. And listen, as a Capricorn, it's Capricorn season every season. We cannot turn this off. It's a sickness. It's a superpower. And it's not even something that I can help. Like, truly gearing up to tonight, my body, like my spidey senses have been turning up the productivity. Like, I have had so many 3 a.m. nights or 3 a.m. mornings, kind of depending on when the last work binge was, that I'm starting to lose track of time. But this is not a complaint by any means. It is like my favorite feeling in the world, to be in just such intense creativity mode. And listen, there are different decans of Capricorns. Like, not all of us are the same. I was born January 9th. And so, like, the myth goes that we're a little bit more artsy fartsy. But at the end of the day, like, if you were born within this time frame, like, we're just cut from a very specific cloth. And, like, it's not for the faint of heart. But with this superpower, it has made me very comfortable with darkness. And this is ironic because I truly was very afraid of the dark. Like, I remember as a kid watching Goosebumps, like, I was afraid of, like, the boogie monster under the bed. And for some reason, like, when the lights were off, it meant that he could grab me. But when the lights were on, he couldn't. And it's funny how as a kid, you just, like, make up these rules. But even as an adult, we make up these rules as well. Like, we make up the boogeyman way after the boogeyman is no longer in our life anymore. Or we've sort of inherited the shadow of a boogeyman in our parents' lives, right? And that's, like, really where this whole going into the shadow self is, like, really important and really powerful. Because, like, as soon as you go into the cave and turn all the lights, you sort of realize that it's all just a bunch of shapes casting shadows against the wall and, like, making you think that there's something scary behind you when it's not. And, like, that's truly why Plato's cave, when I heard that allegory, I was, like, so enlightened to the fact that, of course it feels so scary. And of course it's an illusion. But ultimately, when you leave the cave, you can't just, like, assume that anybody else is going to be able to, like, come with you. You just have to, like, leave and understand that, like, now you know this. Not everybody's going to believe you. Like, it's going to come off really strange if you're like, hey guys, like, all of this stuff is imaginary. You don't have to, like, be scared of it. Like, if you go into your family and you say, hey, listen, like, we've got to break this pattern. We've got to break this chain. Like, I'm realizing I'm coming out into the light. You can't just, like, shock everybody in your family by saying, like, oh, this isn't real anymore. You can't just, like, pull the rug from under their reality or anybody else's reality for that matter and expect that they're going to be able to, like, follow you, or even more deeply, that they're not going to get angry at you. So just remember that this deep diving into the darkness is something that you actively have to choose, and you cannot take anybody else with you. It's something that can only come from you for you, and only you can get yourself out of it. Like, nobody's going to come save you. But the relationship that I have had with darkness in my life has come through my artwork. I mean, like, I literally lived in a dark room in high school when I found out about film photography, really, like, the developing process. And I was so grateful that my high school had a dark room. And I still shoot film to this day. And I'm fascinated by the concept of, like, light and astrophysics and how light can really only exist in darkness. Like, if you were in a room that was completely filled with bright lights, like, darkness would be the only thing that would give contrast enough for you to realize that that light even exists. So that's why like this whole idea of being like, oh, you know, I just like want to shine the light onto the world. I just want to be a light into the world. Like, yes. Well, did you know that the only reason why you would be a light to begin with is because darkness is needed to like make you exist? Like, this is the thing about binary thinking and dualistic thinking that is really important to transcend from, because everything is a paradox when you start thinking about it from a sense of light and darkness are actually the same thing at a different degree, the same way that like love and hate are the same thing at a different degree. And if you guys are really into this sort of stuff, I really recommend this book, The Kabbalion. But I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, because today's podcast is really about taking this time intentionally and having a ritual at your fingertips to access whenever you want during the darkest season of the year. And it's something that I recommend you do over and over again. So I talk about this on my newsletter, but if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that my favorite tattoo is of the Devil tarot card from the Rider-Waite tarot deck. And my abusive ex-fiance gave me this tattoo on my 31st birthday, like a little over a year and a half ago, a little under 2 years. And it was right before everything went to shit. It was almost as if I got this tattoo and it was like, from then on, it just was an exponential downhill rush to just rock bottom. And on a literal level, it is a very dark memory. But to me, having gone through so much transformation by going deep into my shadow self and really learning how to love that bitch, like really learning how to hug her and say, like, I see you, it's okay. Like, I love your weirdness. I love your wrongness, and transcending out of this shameful spiral that there's some version that's like perfect. There's a right version of me, that these shadow parts were not helpful to me when I needed them to come to my defense. In the most like intense moments of survival, like these dark things about me that have been vilified and have been truly hurtful in some terms to myself and other relationships and other people in my life, it did come in handy to me when I needed to like scrape myself off of this floor, both literally and figuratively, and get out of this relationship. And so the Devil card is also the Capricorn card, in case you guys didn't know. And it's about so much more than surface level associations when it comes to reading tarot. It's learning about how to read the story and the symbolism that transcends language and allows you to like download and access your intuitive meaning. It's funny, I was like walking down one of the main streets in Albuquerque from the mall, because like me and my partner always love going to a mall no matter where we are in the world. I highly recommend it. It's counterintuitive, but there's almost this like ethnographic tinge to going to a mall in every single small town I have ever been, in every single big city I've ever been in the world. You get just like a finger on the pulse of culture in a way that's just like so universal and human. But anyways, we're walking home and we see this McDonald's sign, and there's literally no letters on the sign. It's just the giant arches. And it's crazy how like I was literally thinking about this newsletter and this podcast about how like those symbols like tell stories to us and we don't even know it. It's like subconscious. It's so exoteric, or esoteric, I should say, where you're just like looking at the M's and you immediately smell the French fries and you hear laughter and you like think about Ronald McDonald and you think about your memories and you think about all of these associations. Like, that's some magic. Like, if you can get your logo to influence that level of like visceral, tangible, like sensory memory and feeling and emotion, somebody like, whew, that's I know that's like advertising and I know that's like propaganda on some level, but that is magic in my opinion. And I don't really think that my tattoo is any different for me in my association with it, because every single time I look at it, not everybody else, I'm going to have my own association with it. But that's what's really cool about the tarot, and particularly the Devil card, is that it like really forces people who meet me and can see it to contend with like their own relationship with it, which come on, I love to stir the pot, but it also really lets me know what level of like understanding people have about like good versus evil, and whether or not they're going to judge me for that, and whether or not they like take things at face value. And that's a big part of the reason for why I got the tattoo, and it still rings true today, even if it also has a lot of dark memories associated with it. But I really find it to be a wonderful reminder and badge of honor that I have faced darkness, and that means I just can't, I'm no longer afraid of the dark. I just can't be. It's just something that I have learned to love. And so, yeah, like it is something that I encourage you all to look at. I might even put it in the podcast, even though I very rarely put visuals on here. I might even just throw the card up here, because I want people to see how loose the chains are around the necks of the men and the man and the woman in this visual, and how really it's meant to be interpreted that our chains are often self-inflicted. I mean, they're not even really attached to anything. You could just very easily take them off your head and walk away. And that was such an aha moment for me when I left this abusive relationship. Was if I wanted to leave, I had to take part of the responsibility for how I got there. Because without taking that responsibility of getting there, of getting myself there, even if on some level it wasn't my fault, it was my responsibility, I could then get myself out of it. That's why being able to admit what we've done wrong is actually the most empowering move that you can make, because it claims your power. Responsibility is power. It's not the other way around. Power doesn't come power doesn't mean responsibility. It means it's the other way. Like Peter Parker or whatever, Spider-Man had it wrong. It was like, if I take responsibility of all of my life, then there's no power that can overtake that. And so it's really, I think, so cool to have that as a daily reminder, and recognize actually how freeing it is to take full responsibility. One thing about Capricorns that I think really gets misconstrued is the fact that we are very like greedy mountain climbers. We're just status climbers. And like, yes, there's always examples of that. And I support those queens and kings, to be perfectly honest. I hope they get their coin.
Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days.
And I am one of them as well. But my understanding is, but the misconception is that we don't go deep down in the depths of who we are to be able to access those heights. We are a sea goat. We got a little mermaid tail at the end of our goat bodies, little freaks. Okay. We can go really, really deep down in the depths of our emotions. And ultimately that's what allows us to climb really high, like a tree. You can't really go very high on a tree if you don't have deep roots. You'll just topple over, right? Like that's why the chakra alignment is so important. You can't just like open your third eye and not open the rest of them. Like I'm pretty sure that's what spiritual psychosis is. So I really think the beautiful thing about embracing my Capricornness is not actually letting the stereotype take over, and really going in and learning the power of the emotional side of the Capricorn. And this is why this dark day, this season before things start turning the corner, because tomorrow will be the first day that the day gets longer, which is hope, which is the beginning, which is the rising of the ashes. That's the real tea. But tonight we start at the bottom of the ocean. Tonight we reflect upon the deep, dark, crusty shadows and say, what's going on in there? How can I love that part of myself? How can I shine a light on it? Not to change it, not to shame it, not to be like, oh, like you're like, you need to fix this part of yourself. Everything needs to be all light all the time. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's also why I really feel like coaching has become such a part of spiritual teaching has become such a part of my coaching. Because, y'all, I started out as just like a pure entrepreneurial project management, operational strategist, business coach. I have a Notion certification. Like, I am genuinely in that. Like, I love that left brain shit. But I have often found in the consulting that I've done and the coaching that I've done over the last decade across so many different industries, having attracted so many different types of clientele outside of the creative industry, outside of just sort of female entrepreneurship, it's all comes back to these very, very core emotional principles of, do I know who I am? Do I like who I am? Am I willing to take responsibility for that? And can I live it out loud and do it to the fullest extent and completely surrender to any results and allow God to be able to be an equal co-creation? That is really what it's about. And so all of the tools that I'm going to be giving in my course, all of the things that I talk about here, the reason why I do artwork, all of this stuff is to show you guys that you can live exactly how you want to live. And you have a goddamned responsibility to figure it out, because everybody came here for our little own hero's journey where we're supposed to be who we are, feel uncomfortable with the environment that we are in, because we are all born into situations that are asking ourselves to either assimilate and be exactly like the things that were given to us, our identity markers, or we can chisel down and figure out who we are by taking ourselves out of our comfort zone, out of our physical environments, going out into the world like the prodigal son, and just going to figure it out. But I think what's really lost in this journey is that people don't realize that what they're supposed to do once they have left the nest is grapple with an internal change. And that can only happen if you start really being able to recognize that the obstacles you are facing are so that you can define your personal values, you can collect new tools, put them in your toolbox, and conquer the next level, right? Life really is Super Mario in some ways, where it's just like, okay, final boss, get a new sword, be able to use that sword to tackle the next boss, and on and on and on you go, right? The bottom of every mountain is the top of the previous one, and the top of the mountain that you're climbing now is going to be a bottom of the next one, and so on and so forth. It's the law of octaves. It's the law of creation. There's no getting around these laws. It's not like the truth has any obligation to make sense to you. It just is what it is. So it's important that you stop hating the game and start loving the game and recognizing that you're a player and have some fucking fun with it and take some responsibility. So tonight is a night for you to do that. Tonight is a night for you to really let go of what you do not want to deal with anymore. Like, I want you to be really sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then do the work that I talked about in my last podcast. Get that big poster out. Ask yourself these big questions. What do I not want to do anymore? Who do I not want to be anymore? What am I no longer willing to believe anymore? And if you have been in 2024 the way that I've been in 24, and you look externally at any single news cycle, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or CBS or PBS or Democracy Now! Or Twitch or wherever you're getting it, we all know that the external world is making us go, what the actual F? And what a beautiful opportunity for you to have no choice but to decide for yourself what you want this life to be. You got a problem with the stuff that's going on out there? Fantastic. The universe is asking you to solve that problem so you can make the world a better place. Once you solve the problems for yourself, then you can solve it for others. That's why Luigi is so fascinating to us. Because look how beautiful it is when you have something you're willing to kill for. Something you're willing to die for. And yes, I know family and the people that you love, yes, I understand that that's a quick answer, but I'm talking about something way deeper than that. What Luigi is teaching us is not just to have a wake-up call to a corrupt health insurance industry. What he's doing is asking us, do you have something you believe in that much? Because that's what you're supposed to be here for. And no, obviously don't literally go do that. Like, come on, have some nuance, have some have some critical thinking skills. I'm talking about that level of purpose and knowingness of something that you know is important for you to go out and be compelled to do. This is why the Simon Sinek TED Talk is so powerful, and it's why Apple is such a powerful brand and Nike's such a powerful brand, is because we see a symbol, we know what they're about, and every single thing that they do is about that thing. So it doesn't matter if it's socks or it's a watch or it's goggles or whatever it is. And so that's why I truly believe, and this is so Capricorn coded, turning your personal brand into something that's connected to a deeper spiritual purpose is a fantastic way to live into a modern age. Making content for your purpose, for yourself, for the version of yourself that existed 10 years ago that wished that she or he or it or they had access to this information back in the day, that's some quantum shifting, leaving the information now in the world so your previous self can find it, and then that changes your future. That's what you're supposed to do. And do it on camera and do it in public and get comfortable telling your story. And that is something that is really changed the way that I'm showing up on this camera, the way that I'm showing up on content. It's a rage against the machine, okay? Because I may be a Capricorn, but I'm anti-establishment, and the only authority that I listen to is my goddamn self. And you should feel the same way about yourself. Because there's no right and wrong. There's only right for you, wrong for me, wrong for you. It's relative. And so if we start taking full responsibility for what we want in our lives, it is actually going to make the world a much better place than if we spend our time trying to convince other people to do what we believe in when we haven't even cleaned our own house. Clean your house. As RuPaul says, before you point the finger, make sure it don't stink first. Okay, it's 10:45. I'm going to wrap this up. I just want to say here that all Capricorn season, I am going to be posting a lot of content, and it's purely because I really want you guys to see the behind the scenes of me making this course. I am so proud of what I'm making, and I am so excited about hitting this deadline. I'm going to be turning 33 on January 9th. We're going to be launching this course. It is something that I have been working on for the better part of 10 years. I have been a business coach for 5. I have been a Notion consultant for 3. I have been a life coach for the last 2 years and a half, and all while being able to reconnect with myself, heal from burnout, and create a tangible, realistic version of an art career that isn't asking me to prostitute my craft the way that commercial photography was making me do in New York. And I just want other people to be able to know how to do that for themselves. Not that they need to become me, but that they need to become them. And so this whole system is really based off of the second brain. Shout out Tiago Forte. But it's something that unfortunately is really missing in this very masculine productivity space, which is that it's all second brain and no second heart. And like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you need a brain and you need a heart and you need the courage to use them together. And me, I am Toto, your loyal, unrelenting dog dragging you down the yellow brick road back to yourself, back to your home, so you can be who you're meant to be. This system, and yes, I use Notion to do it, but you don't have to necessarily use Notion. It's so much bigger than that. It's about recognizing that if you define your core values and set goals from a place of trying to get closer to that personal definition, there is no way for you to end up but exactly home. It's a formula. It's not something that has to be complicated. And it's not something that a lot of people teach because everybody's trying to teach their way, their subjective way. Their goals are not going to work for you because they're not you. Like, I'm so tired of seeing everybody be like, oh, like, you know, I'll just like get up at 6 a.m. and do the Huberman protocol. Babe, you are not a 50 something like man with commitment issues. You're a woman who's got codependency and potentially hormonal issues because your cortisol levels are out of whack, and you got to stop trying to listen to somebody else that isn't you. You got to listen to you, and you've got to learn how to listen to you. And I am going to teach you how to do that, because for fuck's sake, I can't find it anywhere else. I mean, other than Mami Onami, and I'm going to be shouting her out all Capricorn season. One, because she's my actual teacher, but two, I'm doing the ritual with her in January. And when I say I did it last year and it changed my life, I am not joking. I will never do another year that does not have the ritual at the beginning of it. So if you guys want a 10% discount, the code is Daryl10. I'll put a link in the description below. It is literally the only place you're going to get a 10% discount on this workshop, because I'm the only one with one. So I guess that's it, y'all. I will see you next time on the podcast. If you haven't already, please sign up for the newsletter. I'm also going to put a link in the description for you to join the waitlist for the launch of the course. And be sure to get all of my templates on Gumroad. They will only be free until January 9th as a lead generator for my course. And then once the course launches, they're all going to be going behind a paywall for a range of about $15 to $30. So please take advantage of the fact that they're free right now. And until next time, it's not Daryl.